You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building. She's more like family.
She's our resident political pundit.
I love when there's another Angela in the
Spell
room.
pundit.
P-U-N-D-I-T.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where that N came from.
Okay. Miss Angela Brown. Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everything?
Everything is everything.
There's a lot going on.
It's a lot going on.
What do we need to know?
Okay, so for starters, and this wasn't even my starting point.
Is he impeached yet?
No, he's
Okay.
still there.
But we're
I'm sorry.
almost there, I feel like.
Almost there.
Yeah, we're a little bit closer
little
than
bit
when we
more.
first began.
I'm sorry,
But Jeff
continue.
Sessions, who is you all's new attorney general,
all.
You all, not
y'all's,
No, y'all.
not
I'm
mine.
not a
voting
resident
for
of
Hillary.
this country.
I'm still with Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch, but he recently took action to undo some of what Eric Holder put into place in terms of not prosecuting specifically us, right? We're disproportionately prosecuted with and handed down mandatory minimum sentences. Well, Jeff Sessions has just released a memo on Wednesday saying that people should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He sent that to nationally to attorney general or to states attorneys throughout the country, more than 90, encouraging them to prosecute folks to the fullest extent of the law. That doesn't sound that bad, but when you dig a little deeper and you connect it to the fact that he also rescinded an order that would say, hey, we're going to ease up on how much we're using private prisons. He said, no, actually, we're going to keep using private prisons. And then you tie that to the fact that the week of the election, private prison stock rose after Donald Trump was elected. There's a very clear, cohesive narrative here saying, hey, we're going to get rid of this clemency initiative by not prosecuting folks who are in states where there's recreational drug use. There are a handful of them.
Right.
They just said recently they're also going to prosecute folks for recreational weed use. So when you put all of those things together, we have a real problem on our hands, and that is exactly how we got into the mass incarceration mess that we have today.
So are we like at a war on drugs type of situation?
It is definitely war on drugs 2.0. That is,
and let's be
definitely
clear,
where
the
we're
people, all different races
She's waving at
use
me.
weed and use marijuana, but who are the people that get stopped the most and get arrested and convicted the most for things?
That's exactly right. So you look at even what happened here in New York with the stop and frisk issue, them saying it's not constitutional. Black and brown people are disproportionately stopped,
Right.
targeted, frisked, and then they're released because they can't find anything. So we're absolutely there. And even worse, again, because if you have, a sack of weed, does that mean you're behind bars for 5+ years? Those are the types of things that the Clemency Initiative at DOJ under the Obama administration was designed to get rid of.
Because they could
And
stop
we're
you
back
for
here.
saying, oh, he didn't use his turn signal.
Yeah.
And then stop you and then say, oh, I smell some weed in the car. And the next thing you know, you're going to jail.
And that's definitely what's been, what has happened in New York. But again, they said it's not constitutional. But we have an attorney general saying, let's do all that we can to put these people.
My goodness.
Should we put Jeff Sessions away for lying? I mean,
With the Russia thing?
Yeah,
That's an interesting.
How are we not keeping pressure on him for that? Like, it's like you're trying to distract us with all this
in that
other
case,
stuff. But no,
let's
what about
prosecute
you?
him to the
It's
fullest
so
extent of the law.
interesting that you say that. So on Russia, I think one of the most interesting things that happened last week was Jeff Sessions, of course, lying under oath during his nomination hearings, then saying he's going to have to recuse himself from any investigation having to do with Russian collusion with the elections. Well, that was on that Friday. And then, of course, you all's president on Saturday tweeted that Obama was a very bad or sick guy because he tapped T-A-P-P. Not even
I
just,
know, he spelled it
can't
wrong.
Even, I mean,
He
this
can't
dude
spell.
can't even
'Cause
spell
he's
right
used to
in
saying,
140
I just tapped
characters.
that. Like, I just tapped
Tap
that.
that ass.
But that still would be past tense. So just T-A-P-P for having a wiretap on my phone.
Right.
Right. No evidence of this whatsoever, but it was able to distract from the anger. You all know he was mad about Jeff Sessions saying he was going to recuse himself. So it was a distraction in that space, and there are a lot of other layers to the Russian. We could write a book on
I'm
that.
confused. So you could just say, hey, the president's a sick person, you wiretap. You could just make all types of claims and
You
then
can't.
nothing happened.
You can't and you shouldn't. And actually, this is really interesting for me as a lawyer, putting my lawyer hat on. The president could sue Donald Trump for libel. It's a
Right.
defamatory statement he made.
Yeah, absolutely.
He made a substantial, huge allegation with no type of evidence. this is how we know.
Why? So why doesn't he do something like that? Why not sue him?
I don't know. This,
I think
President Obama's a good guy. He stays going high, and this guy is in the gutter low. I agree. Like,
It's
time
time. Nobody got no time to sue Donald Trump.
I would love that.
Listen,
ain't got time for that.
But who has one with the president? And I think the reality of it is he needs to pay some type of consequence for making that type of allegation.
So he stops
if he
it, yeah.
did get wiretapped, that's a whole different ball game, right? In order to approve a wiretap, you have to go through the FISA court and have probable cause. And if he did get wiretapped, then that brings us full circle back to the whole issue with Russia and the election. And like, by the way, Donald Trump, can we see your tax returns? Because you were real secretive about those. Maybe there's another connection and some there with the tax returns.
So we go back to this weed thing for a second. So recreational drug use will get you what now?
So they're saying that on the federal level, they're going to prosecute states where there is recreational weed use on the books. That creates a problem for several. I have a list of states: is Maine, Oregon, Massachusetts, California, Nevada, Alaska, Colorado, Washington, and D.C.
Yeah.
So that means all of those states that just passed those laws or recently, you can now be prosecuted, whether you have weed on your person or you are utilizing the product. And then all these stores now, right, where, folks used to be selling weed on the corner. Now the stores they might also have challenges.
I'm really starting to think our votes don't matter. And if we voted for recreational drug use, and then 2 months later y'all just like, no recreational drug, you shouldn't be able to do that.
Well, I think the challenge is there needs to be a federal law put in place to allow for recreational weed use, and that's really, really hard because some of the conservatives, you all know that conservatives control the House and the Senate. They are religious conservatives, and on social issues, they're conservative. So that means they wouldn't support that type of legislation. Without that type of legislation, it means that there is a conflict of law, and the state will lose out to the federals. It's just like any other hierarchy. So a city law is trumped by a state law is trumped by the federal law, and that's the issue. Under Eric Holder, he said, we're not going to prosecute this. That's a waste of time. We have other things on our plate. Well, under Jeff Sessions, he's like, let's pack these private prisons.
Now, what about the meeting with the HBCU leaders? Now, what was your opinion on that?
Oh, man. It really, honestly, it's mixed.
And what came out of that
Would
as
you
well?
ever sit on the couch the way Kellyanne Conway was sitting?
No, definitely not with a dress on, and definitely not in the Oval Office.
Why
Maybe
was
at
she
home.
sitting like that? It just looks so crazy.
It did. I don't know. And Saturday Night Live trumped her. I mean, not trumped her. I meant to say trolled her. Trolled and trumped her so well. It was amazing. But with the meeting, what I'll say is this. That meeting was the only real thing he did for Black History Month besides visiting the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I think it was their way to empower Omarosa to say she's going to have the president's ear and she's going to be really in charge of this initiative. They moved it from the Department of Education, the White House Initiative on HBCUs, from the Department of Education over to the White House. I don't know what that does other than just move
Photo
where
op.
the initiatives. Yeah.
Great photo op.
And they didn't change anything else substantively in the order. I know several of the presidents asked for an increase in Pell Grants. They asked for some other capacity grants and funding relief so that they can continue to educate the students. And I think we'll see where he puts his money.
He wasn't even supposed to be there. He was supposed to meet with Betsy DeVoe. That's what the brother from, what's it called, Dillard? Or is that the department store? Dillard.
No, that's definitely an HBC
Yeah, the president from Dillard
and a
said-
department store.
told me he wasn't even supposed to be there. They was supposed to meet with Betsy DeVoe, and then Trump happened to be there.
Well, and so what happened was their substantive meeting got cut short and they went to go do the photo op, which ended up looking real crazy because they looked like they were packed in there like sardines. It was 80 people in that room.
Right.
And Kellyanne Conway looked like a young freshman ready to
Don't do it. Don't
She
do
did
it.
look like
Don't
a
do
freshman,
it.
though.
Don't do it. Oh
All right,
my
now
God.
what about Ben Carson? Is there
What
anything
a-
that he
Hold
can
on.
say?
Your cousin
That's
Ben.
your cousin.
That's your Uncle Ben.
Ain't y'all, where's he from? Isn't he from South Carolina?
I
Oh,
don't think so. He's from Detroit.
yeah, he's from Detroit.
Oh.
He's from
Detroit.
Detroit.
He didn't move to Detroit?
I don't know.
I think y'all live next door to each other. Ain't that,
No,
that's not your
no.
brother?
He's from Monk's Corner.
Like, no.
Tell us about your Uncle Ben now.
No, that's your Uncle Ben. I don't even know where to begin.
He's still
with this
defending
dude.
himself.
Well, I know, and the worst part about it is I don't know what it is with Black Republicans and the slavery analogy. You know how they tried to bury the N-word a few years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to bury the slavery analogy for
agree.
Black Republicans. They don't use it right. So here he is, just months ago, comparing Obamacare to slavery, saying it's worse than slavery,
Right.
right? And then he takes this a step further and says, well, slaves came here to find a better life.
They're immigrants.
Right, which is hilarious. It's not really funny, but it's hilarious that he would think that this analogy makes any sense, particularly because folks were saying, oh, well, President Obama did the same thing. And I'm like, y'all can't listen? Like, you can't comparatively say this is completely different. President Obama acknowledged everything that slaves went through to come here. On the other hand, you have Ben Carson making it seem like we came here to find a better life.
Like, we actually came here on our own accord.
Right.
I bought a trip.
Shackled.
I bought a trip.
Beat, shot, killed, on our way here to find a better life. When I think, for the most part, you hear any type of history lesson on this, even the ones that are 2 paragraphs long in history books in schools, that don't say that at all.
And what did he think life was like in Africa? That slavery is a better life.
I wonder if he's ever been. I've never been to Africa, but at least I, have read books and talked to people. I don't understand. Anyway,
all right.
All of his appointments have been.
A Day Without a Woman just passed. A lot of people didn't really understand what that was about, I have to say. Because I saw, like, a lot of us posted things supporting A Day Without a Woman. Of course, it was International Women's Day also. And I saw in the comments, some guys were like, all right, I hope you get fired for not going to work today. We don't need y'all. It's fine. People see how we function better when you're not there. And people were like, I don't understand what this is about. They made it seem like it was a thing about color, and not really understanding the whole initiative of what A Day Without a Woman was like. What were you doing on that day?
So I actually did stay out of the office. TV, I was asked to do TV on 5 different shows. I didn't do television yesterday. And what I thought was interesting.
You worked out?
I did work out. I had on my red though when I worked out. And I'm sore as a result. But no, the thing that I thought was interesting is that we find ways to isolate and to encourage discord when we need to be standing together the most. I understand the history of white feminism in this country and why Black women often say, I'm a womanist, I don't even identify as feminist. But I think the reality of it is if you look historically at civil rights boycotts, they took a lot of time. And so one day is probably really hard. You got skeptics you got to get around. They need to see unity in numbers. And when you think about the type of impact we could have in a long-term economic boycott, you think women make up 47% of the overall workforce, 2/3 of minimum wage jobs, hitting right at the point about where folks are not privileged enough to economically strike. But you got to think of what the alternative is. 3/4 of the teachers, 55% of undergraduate students, 1/3 of doctors, and the list goes on. So if we could really get women together to say we are standing in solidarity, you're not going to take advantage of us, Trump administration or anybody else. We're going to work together, and you're going to see how hard it is for you when women don't show up.
And I think it's great that certain certain corporations actually encouraged it and said, okay, you guys as a woman had the day off. People came to work wearing red for people that couldn't take that day off. And I thought it was a great message to send out because it is about, women getting paid properly. It's about sexual harassment in the workplace, just all of those things that we need to bring attention to. But some people just didn't get it. And I was like, why is it so hard to comprehend?
I think, again, part of it is just when you have folks who are naysayers over time, it's just like, I'm going to find any reason why I can't engage. And we should have had, I think, probably more conversations around what does privilege mean? And if you do not feel like you can afford it, what does it mean to make that kind of sacrifice?
Right.
But yeah, I think it's not something that can get resolved in a day, but I would love to see some type of sustained economic boycott. That's the only reason why difference was made. Like even when you think about the Montgomery bus boycotts in the 60s.
You think minorities are doing too well to actually properly boycott and strike? And what I mean by that is when you think about the 60s, like we really didn't have much at all, like nothing. Now we got quote unquote civil rights and guys are making money. Because I remember vividly when Sean Bell got shot, we all left. He was blocking the freeway. I was working with Wendy Wednesday time. He was blocking the freeway. As soon as the police came and was like, all right, we about to start locking people up. On the count of 10, everybody was like, all right, get back to work.
But it was about supporting Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses as well. So it's not like you don't have to shop or spend your money at all. It's just where you spend your money too.
Yeah, but I think even that, like we've experienced that from some of the stuff with Bank Black. Like people have these crazy ideas about what that means to spend your money or to give your money to institutions that look like us. And those are ideals that we have to break down over time. They're barriers that have to be broken down over time. There's not, it's not like these things came out of left field. Black women have had experiences with white women historically where they've stood in solidarity with them on their issues and then it backfired. One of the things that I thought was notable about yesterday too was the Congressional Black Caucus women wore black flowers on their red dresses or suits to say we're standing in solidarity with women of color. And I think part of it is just acknowledging there have been distinctions and differences and things that cause division over time. We have to start repairing them in some way. So I thought that one symbolic gesture was good.
How was it backfired? Like when they got together?
Well, so for example, you look at the women's suffrage movement. Black men stood with white women to ensure they would get the right to vote. And then as soon as they got it, it was just like, oh, well, we're done. Even though black men couldn't, go to the same places or travel in the same, train cars or be in the drinking out of a different fountain. They were still separate but unequal. And white women didn't fight that. They didn't stand in solidarity with our community to fight inequality and inequity in this country. And I think at some point people are saying, hey, if we stand with you, you have to stand with us
Absolutely.
too. And I think that's where we all are now, hopefully,
Right.
if for no other reason because of what happened in the election.
I'm about to ask, do you ever get blocking? Like, does the Trump organization or Republicans try to block some of the things that you say because you're so outspoken, you do so many TV shows, so many radio shows? Do you ever have that problem at all?
I'm not on their radar. I don't.
And plus, they don't like media anyway, so it doesn't matter. They don't
Oh
like
no,
any
he
media.
loves
He
media.
loves CNN.
Well, no, yeah.
he watches it. He's the guy that loves to hate it, but he watches it.
He watches it,
nonstop.
but
Are you
That
ever
is
worried about
interesting.
that, though? Are you ever worried about that or no?
I'm not. I think that
Oh, they coming.
I think that I'm not scared. I think that I have to utilize my voice to ensure that our folks have someone who is willing to tell the truth on their behalf. Like, I wouldn't be able to rest at night trying to tone this down. Like, the guy is a bigot, I'm going to call him a bigot. If they do things that are ignorant, I'm going to say that. And when they do things that are positive, I'll say that too. But
Are we losing Van Jones?
no.
Because I feel like somebody has whispered to Van, like, hey, you're leaning a little too far left. Could you be a little more balanced?
No, I think Van is fine. I think that Van loves for people to be unified, and I think he's focusing a lot on that right now.
But unification and normalizing the Trump administration is two different
Well,
things.
he argues that he's not normalizing. He's trying to keep us aware and compassionate so that we don't normalize it. I agree with his end goal. I disagree on the means.
Right.
So right now I'm in full-fledged resistance, tell the truth about what's going on, make sure that our folks are resisting, make sure they're equipped to resist. But I'm not for the unification.
He wants to work
yet.
within the system and try to.
Yeah, and again, even with working within the system, I think that our obligation to work within the system right now is resisting. Like yesterday, or during the healthcare bill consideration, which I'm now calling the Unaffordable Care Act,
Right.
Democrats held up that markup process for 18 hours. The reason they're doing it is not for fighting's sake. It's because there's something wrong. There are several things wrong with the bill. Right?
Even some Republicans feel like there's some
Absolutely.
issues with the bill as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're in resistance mode, and that means that we can be educated, but we need to be clear about what our alternative perspectives are and ensure that they're heard.
Now, what does all this mean for Planned Parenthood?
Well, there's a real problem. The new health care bill that they're pushing forth is working to defund Planned Parenthood. They have argued, well, they don't even give mammograms. No, but they do help you to be clear about cancer health and ensure that you are aware of how to, screen for breast cancer, for uterine cancer, and ovarian cancer. Like, there are all of these things they do that folks don't often think about. Men go to Planned Parenthood too,
Right.
for healthcare services. So it would be a terrible thing, and I hope that they are able to get enough support to push back against at least that provision.
I saw the first time I realized that was Black Series. And you said that when you used to speak up, about your blackness, people thought you was just trying to make up for the fact you were light-skinned.
Yeah, I've been told that. You probably heard that in your life. You trying to be so
No.
down for the cause because
He just
you
a
yellow.
waffle-colored Negro. Light-skinned men are different than light-skinned women, though.
Watch him out.
Don't
I
do
feel like
that.
black people don't claim envy.
Watch him out.
They just come for you.
They come for you all the time.
Khaki
They are
colored.
so jealous.
Khaki.
They are
Beige
so
rage
jealous.
is what I like to call
Well,
it.
here's what I'll
so
tell
jealous.
you. Just like we were talking about the white women, it's time to stand together with all of the brown shades of our blackness. All the varying shades of our blackness. You can't hate on yellow people anymore,
We're not
Charlamagne.
yellow, by
Beige
the
lives
way.
matter.
I mean, it's yellowish.
We're not yellow.
Are you go by you red bone? What you?
I'm not red.
What are you? Red boned it.
But Charlamagne says I'm not black because I'm half Chinese.
That's crazy. Did you really say that?
Yeah. Well, no, the question was...
Because I look at it like I'm a light-skinned black person. And I'm mixed.
She asked me what do I see when I see her. I said an Asian woman.
Did you really say that?
Yeah,
I find that so weird because people don't even think I'm Asian if they see me.
Her last name is Yee.
That doesn't mean
that's
that you know her last name, but if you saw her, you would say, "Oh, she's Asian."
Her
No,
Native
you
American.
would not.
Such a liar. Such a liar. Okay, Trump facts.
Trump fact. Yeah, stop calling me Puerto Rican too.
You definitely Latino. Now come on now. Look at him.
But are you basing that on any type of genealogical research?
He had on white jeans.
I don't wear
Okay,
white
stop.
jeans.
He had on
And let's keep
white
it real. Lately, Charlamagne looks like a baseball player.
What? I never heard that one.
She's saying that you might be Latino too. That's
Yeah.
what you're saying. That was
No.
a stereotype. But
Actually, Charlamagne is the one that wears the white jeans.
I never had on white jeans.
White jeans.
No, somebody tried to offer me white jeans, and I said, "Well, you think I'm Dominican?"
What about the white linen pants though?
Ooh, you got on white linen
No, I
pants?
don't know. No, I was like, what about the white linen pants? I
All right,
wanted to
Angela's
get
got to go to CNN. All right.
Well, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
And filling us
as
Aw,
always.
it's good to see you.
Yeah,
thank
thank you for keeping us updated on everything that's going on that we need to know about and keep our eyes and ears out for.
We didn't even get to healthcare. You want to
go
talk
ahead.
about
Oh,
yellow
go
people?
ahead.
Because you have to go.
No, I do have to go.
Oh.
I really
You
do
got
have
time.
to go.
Yeah, she's like, I
You got
really do
5
have to
minutes.
go.
Okay, I got
Break down
5 minutes.
healthcare.
I'm not gonna do a whole bunch, but I do want to tell you this. So let me start with the one positive because it's not that big. Again, the Unaffordable Care Act. Democrats are trying to utilize the bill to ensure that there are cost savings with prescription drugs. You all know prescription drugs can be really, really
Super duper
high,
expensive,
super
yeah.
expensive. Now, here are the challenges. The Congressional Budget Office still has not scored this bill, which means we have no idea how much it costs. That is rich because you have conservative Republicans who argue fiscal responsibility all the time. They haven't even, they don't know how much the bill costs, but they're pushing it through the Ways and Means Committee, of course, and trying to get it to the House floor and to this on the Senate side. So it's funny because after 7 years of fighting Obamacare, 60 plus votes to repeal it, what they've come up with is something that's far more expensive. I've been saying this is the less is more plan. It cuts Medicaid coverage, which means it's going to hurt poor people. It allows insurance companies to charge seniors 5 times as much as young people.
Wow.
They eliminate the individual mandate, but not really. This, I think, is really interesting because some folks were like, well, I don't really want to have to be forced to buy health coverage. But this is what happens. Now, the insurance companies can charge you a 30% premium if you've had a break.
If there's a lapse in your insurance.
coverage.
Yeah.
30%, which means that now you're not paying the government if you had, if you didn't have health care. That's what the mandate was. You would be paying the private companies,
Wow.
which is very Republican of them. So
And it
that's
is,
so-
I've read that millions more people will be uninsured.
But yeah, absolutely. Right now, since Obamacare has been put into place, more than 20 million Americans have health coverage. Now, you absolutely could lose your coverage, and especially because it's going to be so much more expensive. So you're paying more for less coverage. Your premiums are going to spike, and you have elderly folks who are maybe in a real trouble because the insurance companies can charge them more.
This is what I don't understand. If the Obamacare was affordable, and a lot of people did get it and liked it, why are they changing it? Like who's benefiting from this?
Republicans, so they could say that they took out one of his major accomplishments. This really doesn't have
It's like an ego thing.
They kind of don't
People
care.
care
Have
about
you
piss
been
off
watching
people.
what happens at these town hall meetings? It's clear they really don't care
Right.
about the people. The fact that Donald Trump, even in his meeting with Republicans earlier this week, saying, hey, like, if Democrats continue to fight it, we'll just blame them when the whole
Right.
thing crashes, instead of saying, what can we do to lean into working together to find coverage that works for everybody? That's not where they are.
I always thought one of the most important things is for as many people as possible, hopefully everybody, to be able to have insurance, because when anything goes wrong, you know how much money it costs just to even get into the hospital.
That's right.
It's
That's right.
ridiculous. So,
Even going to the emergency room can be unaffordable.
Right.
And that's what I think we have to
and
remind
they won't even see you if you don't have coverage.
Well, they have to in the emergency room. That's why a lot of people go to emergency room. I know a lot of people that don't have insurance. So when something happens, they have to go to emergency room.
Which is why the lines are always so
long.
long.
Yeah.
It takes so long to be seen.
All right, follow Angela Rye on Instagram and Twitter. We can't have her be late to CNN. She
Okay.
can't be
All
the
right.
black
Don't
person that's
blame
late to
us.
CNN. It's only 4 of them up there.
Well, we appreciate you for joining
Shut
us.
up.
It is. You, Simone, Bakari.
There's
and
more
Van.
than that. No, and Don and Paris. Jermichael's new.
And Don in Paris.
Mark
we not
Lamont
sure.
Hill.
Mark. I thought they kicked Mark out.
They did not kick
After
Mark
he called
out.
them mediocre Negroes.
He didn't
All right.
call CNN mediocre Negroes. He called someone who's not even on. He's not a CNN commentator mediocre.
Okay,
All
so
right.
6.
Stop changing the
Well,
narrative.
it's Angela ride.
Oh, Donald Trump over here. Charlamagne the Trump.
It's Angela ride. It's the Breakfast Club. Good
Thanks,
morning.
y'all.
The Breakfast Club. Every weekday morning. Tune in